going on, guys? So today, while on my way to see my beautiful mom, it was very windy in the rural and probably around 40 something mile an hour gust, but for some reason in these open fields it really gets intense. So I wanted to go launch the drone. I saw a train cruising by. As you see in the opening video, it was really windy. I don't know if that really did justice, but the Mavic 3 Pro is really having a hard time. I did a screen recording of my closest flyaway to date in probably 8+ years of flying, and I figure why not walk through this and hopefully learn a little bit, because I probably would have done a few things differently. I don't know, looking back, but I thankfully found the drone. I don't know how, but I did, and that's a good thing. So, phew. But this is the screen recording. So essentially, let's see where I can see. So let me see where I'm at. So strong wind warning, aircraft unable to return home automatically. So the drone is basically physically unable to return home. That's what the prompt is saying, right? So physically unable to, super close. Current route close to geozone. Pay attention to the aircraft's position on the map. So essentially for some reason, the home point updated over here. I'm all the way over here where this cursor is, off by this road. So what happened was I'm flying to get footage. The winds are really gnarly, and they start preventing me from flying back with these strong wind warnings. And somehow I get kind of near this geozone, and I don't know if that was actually causing things to act differently. So I'm lowering altitude, as you see. I'm 52 feet. So current RTH, return to home route close to geozone. Pay attention to the aircraft's position on the map to avoid return to home failure. So essentially I got a lot going on, right? So I never really had this happen before with these kinds of extreme winds. So I figure lower, and I've flown this area before a bunch of times, and I've never had an issue. So I know the winds did have a major factor, but I tried to fly low. Like when you have these kinds of winds, and a lot of times you have difficulty flying the drone back, it's almost like being, as I said a bunch of times, in the ocean with different rip currents or currents kind of pulling. You gotta find a way, whether you go up altitude, decrease altitude, just like in the ocean, you either swim sideways, meaning parallel to the shore. You figure something out, but you don't just sit in the current and fight and lose energy. You got to figure out some other way. So same thing with this, same kind of principle. You go ahead and maybe try to go higher, go lower, fly sideways, something to kind of relieve or find some relief in the winds. So I'm flying sideways a little bit, seeing if I could maybe work my way back, but it keeps on messing me up, and I don't know what it was, if it was the geozone or if it was just these extreme winds, because it was really windy. I mean, super kind of gnarly. So here we are. I'm kind of cruising, and I didn't know what I should do. I'm still getting the strong wind warning. It was almost as if my remote wasn't even functioning. That's literally how much it would not go back towards where I was parked. So I was thinking, okay, I see a park. Do I go and land the drone in the park? So there's a skate park or something. I could possibly land the drone, kind of crappy day. Nobody's going to be there to try to steal the drone or something. So I lower and I kind of think about it. Should I just land? Where should I land? Or is there anyone there? I'm kind of scanning the zones. There's the road over there. What is the easiest for me to drive to? And I think where I messed up, I decided to not land it, which I think is what I should have done, looking back, hindsight 2020. And instead I raised altitude a little bit, and I decided to just get in the car and drive to this area on the bottom of the screen. So guess what? I started driving, and I broke connection with the drone. And then all hell kind of broke loose, because now I don't have a connection. The drone, guess what, is going to want to return to home when it physically can't return to home because of the strong winds. And then I got the geozone thing, which I don't even know how it's affecting me completely. Maybe you guys can shed more light if you do know more, maybe say something in the comments below. But again, I've flown in this area a bunch of times and I'd never had any issue at all. Pretty simple to go around the little water tower, get footage of the trains going through the rural and the fields, not a big deal. This was a whole different trip. So again, strong wind warning keeps on happening. We're going to probably see, let's see. Oh, there we go. Remote control signal lost. So now, guess what? It's trying to return home. And I see that it's flying, but it's flying parallel. It's not actually flying back to me. And all this stuff is happening. Remote controller signal may be blocked. Position remote controller to face aircraft. Now, all this is happening. I'm in my car. So I should have never gotten my car. I kind of realized that once I was in my car that I'm probably going to break connection with the remote and all this was going to go down. Then another friend of mine said kind of windy again. A lady who I actually sold one of my Ators to and I taught how to fly. So there you go. Proof that it was very windy to everyone out here. Weak signal, adjust antennas. Now getting that much worse. So this thing, there we go. Weak signal, and then it should go black pretty soon. So image transmission signal may be blocked. Boom. Totally lost transmission, and it goes black, which really stinks because it kind of renders us useless, and this is kind of the black screen of death in a way when flying a drone, in my opinion at least. So now we have this all happening. I'm going to scan forward, and then I go into the Fly app thinking I can see where the drone is. And now, mind you, I'm kind of panicked at this point, trying not to resign. Remember, that's part of the 107 thing. We don't want to resign as a pilot or as a UAS pilot because that would mean we're kind of throwing in the flag and just throwing up our hands and saying no. So we got to fly and figure this out until the very end. And I saw this and I'm like, oh, where is that? That's my house. And I kind of knew it looked familiar, but at the same time, I was still under a lot of stress kind of from all this happening. And I didn't even put two and two together that this is our backyard. So I saw this and I was kind of looking for the fence. I'm like, where the hell is that? So I used the other map. Flashing and beeping wouldn't work because I wasn't connected to the drone. So all of this kind of was rendered useless, and it kind of does stink because if you lose connection to the drone, guess what? I don't know. You just, like, what do you do? Or you have no power to the drone. So what ended up happening is I ended up here. Let me show you. So kind of where this all is. There we go. So here's the water tower. I'm way back in the opposite direction. And when I started where I parked, let me see if I can show you. Where am I? Okay, so like right here. Right. Well, this may be a good view. So I'm over here in this cornfield, way at the other end. Oh, hold on a second. Sorry, I got a defective mouse. So I'm trying to see if I can get this without the wind warning to be there. Okay, here we go. So I'm all the way over here, way back there, I think. I am totally opposite this cornfield, pretty far, like a 20-minute walk to the main road. So what happened was I went back to where I was, thinking possibly the drone would maybe have returned home. It didn't, of course. And I had the remote controller still connected to my phone. So I started, just kind of said a prayer to St. Anthony, my patron saint. My name is Anthony. And walked into the field and watched the phone just to see what was happening in the Fly app. And as I was walking like 20 minutes in, it eventually said, go fly. So guess what? It connected to the drone, which is another thing. Thankfully, I had a full battery. Because if I didn't have a full battery and it didn't connect to the drone, I don't know what would have happened. I probably wouldn't have found it. I don't think I would have, at least. So flying with a full battery on a day of any kind of extreme conditions is definitely huge because it gives you that buffer in case you do run into some kind of unpredicted something like I had today. But again, once it connected, I'm like, wow, okay, cool. I actually have a connection to the drone. I don't know where it is, but I'm connected to it. And I kept on walking. Then it disconnected again. So I restarted everything. I turned off my controller, repowered it on, and closed out of the apps and went back into the Fly app. And then walked further, picked it up again, and I actually was able to transfer an image. So transferred a file, which was really cool because that was kind of promising. Transferred the file to my phone, and then I called DJI because I was still kind of panicked because I had like 20% battery or something. Right now it's at 55%, but I had like 20% battery on the hold for like 15 minutes with DJI. The minute they pick up, the drone I see is beeping, and I find it, and I hung up on DJI support. So sorry, DJI support, but oh well. And that was that. So pretty wild little experience. Pretty awesome that I found the drone, but extreme winds. This was literally the worst experience I had with not being able to actually physically get the drone anywhere other than going with the winds, I guess, which was right by a geozone. And hindsight, I should have just landed the drone somewhere like over here or anywhere just to get safely down and on the ground in case, for example, the geozone was forcing me to land anyway. At least I could have kind of controlled it. So that probably would have been the best scenario, and then just drive my car physically to it. Putting it in the air and breaking the connection of the drone and having it return to home or want to return to home when it couldn't physically because of high winds was probably an error on my end. But thankfully all went well, and hopefully you can kind of learn a little something from this. And let me know if you had any flyaway issues. This kind of was, I think, the most intense one I've had, where I literally didn't think I'd recover the drone. Worst case scenario, you do have flyaway coverage with DJI refresh, which I do have on this Mavic 3 Pro. But that's it. I just wanted to shed some light. Super windy days. Don't take that lightly because it can wreak havoc and cause real issues. So with that being said, aloha, and subscribe if you haven't, and let me know, as I said, in the comments below what your worst case scenario was with the flyaway and how you handled it, and maybe let me know too if you know some more info on the geozone issues. So that's it, guys. Thanks. Bye.